Haven't you noticed that despite humans evolutionarily being social creatures that need to socialize and interact with other human beings, somehow now, in the time of social media, it has become a taboo. It has become weird to talk to another person in real life. At least that's what society says. Like if you go anywhere, no one's talking to anyone. Everyone's on their phones, headphones in, so on. But despite that, you can break the rules, you can break the mold, you can become the change you want to see in the world. And here are some tips to become so charismatic that people literally cannot stop loving to spend time with you. And so without further ado, let's get on to it and make you become the man or woman. And the number one thing which you have to have is some sort of a sense of humor. Now that doesn't really help you now, does it? If I say, be funny, you're like, well, no shit, but like, what does that actually mean? How am I actually supposed to be funny? What am I actually supposed to do in my day-to-day life for others to consider me funny? Well, one thing that is super amazing is exaggerate. And what I mean with exaggerate is that, for example, when I was an extremely horrible person and I cut myself shaving, think about that. Man can't even shave correctly. So I had a shaving cut and I went to a party, right? I needed to go to this party, but I got a shaving cut on my face, look stupid and look like an amateur. But when I get to the party and people ask, oh, what's that cut on your face? Like, you can either answer, oh, it's a shaving cut. And everyone's like, oh. And that's it. That's the conversation. Or you can exaggerate. You can kind of just, bend the truth a bit. And so what I did is I said, well, actually, on my way here, a bear jumped out of the bush and I had to wrestle the bear. But luckily I had got my phone on me so I could call an ambulance for the bear, of course. And now you made this funny story. You exaggerated. Instead of just instantly saying the truth, all of a sudden, now everyone's like, oh, what a funny dude this guy is. Oh, you know what, he's confident. He's comfortable, telling all kinds of stuff. Like, what a funny dude. Because you can exaggerate a bit. When somebody asks you a question, you don't always have to answer with the most accurate truth in the history of humanity. You can exaggerate a bit. You can even make up a bit of stuff. As long as it's exaggerated to a degree where they understand that it is a joke. Now, if I were to say that, I trip and fell and, got a cut on my face, that could actually happen. So that could be something like that. Don't tell that, because then people don't know that it's an exaggerated story, but you have to exaggerate so much that it's so ridiculous that people understand that it's a joke, that it's just funny, that it's not actually real. And so the next time, let's say you're on somewhere and somebody asks you, what do you do? You could just answer, yeah, I'm a student who studies, computer science. I can say that, but once again, it's a bit boring. It's a bit too accurate. Or I could say something like, on my free time, I'm actually a discipline of Ted Bundy, and I really love to dissect girls like Patrick Bateman. And all of a sudden, it's like, okay, this dude, he's got jokes, he's, confident, he can just do this stuff. Everyone understands that. Like, what a humorous person, a sense of humor. And that's one of the greatest things that you can have. And I'm not saying that you need to do this with everything. Of course not. Of course, sometimes you actually have to just say, yeah, I'm a fucking student studying computer science or whatever. Sometimes you just say that. But you can, before you say the real thing, make up this funny thing, and all of a sudden everyone's like, wow, what a funny dude with a sense of humor. And your conversations just will be so much more playful, flirty, whatever you want it to be. You can literally make it anything by just being brave enough to not just instantly say the most accurate answer in the history of humanity. And the great thing is that when people ask you stuff like, what do you do? Usually they don't even care what do you actually do. They don't care if you're a student of history or computer science or biology or whatever. They just want to fill the silence. And when you fill the silence with something that's funny, something that makes people laugh, that makes people smile, you will just be so much more charismatic, and you will be literally the life of the party. You will be the dude that people want to be around. They want to talk to you because they know that you got the jokes. You say the funny stuff. You are the one who actually brings the conversation to a level where people want to talk about. Because who wants to answer a survey of what do you do? What's your name? Oh, how old are you? Oh, what do you do? But when you give the funny answers, all of a sudden you can move the conversation. You can get a funny flow to it. Oh wow, you dissect girls, oh okay, you know what, Patrick Bateman? Yeah, right now I got, 3 women in my freezer. Of course, don't tell the police. Not my legal statement. And once again, the conversation will be so much more funnier, so much better, and you will get so much more out of it. And one of the greatest things as well, if somebody ever insults you, somebody ever gets a bit of that snarky comment at you, like, oh, you study computer science, oh, you must be a nerd, just play into it, double down, literally double down. Somebody says, oh, must be a nerd. Or you can just see someone and you're like, oh, they're probably thinking that I'm a nerd because I said that I study computer science. Then you can like preemptively double down and be like, yeah, I'm a student of computer science, complete nerd, this is what I do all day, it's actually quite hard on the back, I'm already getting crooked and I'm not even old yet. Like when you double down, when you say their insult and you say it before they say it, or you say it when they're thinking about it, or after they say it, you double down on it and you agree with it, all the power is taken away from it. And so that's another tool in your toolkit to help you be the charismatic dude who doesn't get offended, who doesn't just, get these snarky comments and then the whole conversation erupts into, random dishes of other people. Now the second thing to be super charismatic is to actually give meaningful compliments. Like let's say you're walking down the street and somebody walks up to you and they says, wow, you're a super intelligent person. You're so smart and wise. Like that's a bit weird. Like what do you mean I'm smart and wise and intelligent? Like yeah, of course, you could be all of those things, but it's a bit weird that someone just says that. Because you haven't earned it in any way. They don't know who you are, they don't know what you've said, they don't know what's going in your head. But you can get these meaningful compliments by asking a bait question. So one great bait question, let's say I'm talking to someone and I find out that they're a chemistry student, for example. Ah, you study chemistry. Well, what's the most fascinating thing about chemistry that you've learned? That's the bait question, or what I call the bait question. So the bait question baits them, it's an open-ended question that baits them into saying something that then I can compliment them on. So when I ask them, what is the most fascinating thing about chemistry that you've learned? It doesn't matter what they say. They're a chemistry student. They could say, oh, it's the isotope, this, that, I don't know chemistry, but like they could say literally whatever. And whatever their answer is, I can say, wow, I've actually never heard of that. You sound like a very smart and knowledgeable person. And all of a sudden the same compliment of, oh, you're intelligent and smart, you clearly know something. It doesn't seem weird because it's not out of nowhere. They earned the compliment by saying something that you didn't know. By saying something that you learned from. You didn't know chemistry, but now you know that the isotope is this and that. Now you know. So now they earned the compliment. It feels natural. It feels good. They earned it. And the great thing is that you can use the bait question on literally anything. Like imagine the person like, oh, but how do I compliment this person? They're someone who's sitting on the couch all day, they're unemployed, they're going nowhere. How am I supposed to find a meaningful compliment to them? But you can ask a bait question. Once again, the bait question, absolutely amazing tool for your toolbox. And the bait question literally could be like, oh, so, if you could be literally anything in this world, what would you wanna be? Once again, open-ended question that literally, whatever they answer to it, they could literally say, wow, well, you know what? I'd like to be a country singer. Like literally, they could say literally anything to that question. Whatever they say to that, you can always answer, wow, you seem to be an ambitious person with big goals, and I really respect that. Like, you can use the bait question on literally anything. And it's so amazing because whatever people say, you can always just throw some compliment at them that makes them feel good, makes them like you, and also it means it feels so natural because they earned it. It's not just a compliment out of nowhere, but they actually earned it. They did something to earn it. And another thing, if you're gonna compliment someone's looks, don't compliment a feature that they had no impact on. So for example, if there's a woman who has beautiful eyes, she probably has heard you have beautiful eyes about 1,000 times in her life. Like 1,000 times in her entire life, people have come and said, you have beautiful eyes. But she didn't choose to have those eyes. She didn't do anything to earn it. And so the compliment is like, oh yeah, thanks. But it doesn't feel that meaningful. But if you compliment something like, oh, you know what? That shirt actually is amazing. It's quite a bold, fashion choice, but I really like it. Once again, she picked that shirt that she is wearing, meaning that she did something, to earn the compliment. It feels a lot more natural and it's a lot better. And so giving these compliments that people earned by using a bait question or whatever, all of a sudden you will be a lot more charismatic. Your compliments to people won't be out of nowhere, and complimenting other people is just amazing because who doesn't like being complimented? And especially when it's a compliment that they earned in some way, it just really boosts their ego and they really love it, and they're gonna find you a person that they want to be around. Now the third thing that I got for you today is to be comfortable with silence. It's better to be silent than to and I'll prove it to you. Let's say somebody asks you a very hard question, like, what is the meaning of life? And you're totally stumped. I mean, that's a big question. How am I supposed to know the answer? But if somebody asks you, what is the meaning of life? And you go, anything you say after that, it's like, okay, this guy clearly doesn't know. He doesn't have anything smart to say. We can just ignore whatever he says. Like people's brains already turned off by you going, So instead of filling the silence, embrace the silence. You know what? Take a moment to be like, you know what? That is a great question. And to me, the meaning of life is not necessarily happiness, but to experience everything that life has to offer. And boom, the room blows up in applause. Everyone starts standing and screaming in joy, and you're so amazing and wow. Like, did you see? You notice the difference? You embrace the silence instead of fill it with shit, Instead of filling something with shit, you better leave it empty. It's like a bucket. If you got a bucket at home, would you rather have that bucket filled with shit or it be empty? If you got a glass in your hand right now, you're drinking something, would you rather it be empty or filled with shit? Exactly. And so, don't fill the silence with shit. Only speak when you actually have something meaningful to say. And you know what? Be comfortable with the pauses. Be comfortable with the silence. Because it really will help you. And the fourth thing that you need to realize to be super charismatic and for people to literally love you is to be always positive. You know what? You have a bad day. Who cares? you're still gonna be positive. And here's the thing, positivity spreads like the plague, but so does negativity. So if you're positive and you force yourself to be positive, even when everyone around you is negative, all of a sudden it starts spreading. All of a sudden everyone starts getting hopeful, everyone gets positive, everyone starts having fun, everyone's joyful, and you know what? You achieved that. And a great example that I got for you. There was a friend that got injured. He did something a bit stupid. I won't go into details, but he did something stupid. And then he got injured. And you know what? Everyone could have been, you know what? Oh man, you got injured. How horrible, how bad, boo-hoo. And then everyone would feel down. And the mood in the room would be horrible. And no one would be having fun. And everyone would just be, you know, down and moody and everything bad. But you know what I did? I chose to be positive. I chose to find something positive, even in the negative. And I said to everyone, and I said to specifically this friend at least, that this will be an amazing story to tell. Like, yeah, you got injured, but what a fantastic and funny story this will be that you can tell to all the people in the future. Like, isn't that great? Isn't that worth it? And you know what? All of a sudden, started smiling a bit. All of a sudden, it wasn't that bad. All of a sudden, the positivity spreads. All of a sudden, they're smiling. No one's feeling down. Things are amazing. And you know what? You can achieve that. You can spread positivity and people will notice. Because they will be like, every time this dude is in the room, everyone's so positive and having so much fun. But every time he's not there, everyone's down, moody and, you know, a negative. But every time this one dude is around, everything's so fun and positive, and people will notice and people will flock around you and they will surround you like you're Elvis Presley back in, what, the 70s, 60s? You know, bro, I'm too young for this. But anyway, be positive and it will spread. And all of a sudden, everyone around you will be positive. And then even you have more fun because people around you are more positive. What fun isn't there about that? Now the fifth thing to be one of the most charismatic people on planet Earth, after you've done all the things previously, is this. Listen to other people truly and then prove it to them. So a lot of people are like, I'm a great listener. And they're probably correct. They probably listen extremely well. They sit there, they sit in silence, they let the other person speak and they listen. And then the other person is like, did you get what I was saying? Did you hear what I said? Hello? Because they don't know if you are listening or not. If you sit in silence, how is anyone supposed to know what is actually going through your head? Are you actually thinking about the conversation or what happened yesterday or the next weekend or whatever? Nobody knows. So you have to prove that you listened. And how you do that is by repeating parts of what people said. And so let's look at an example. Let's say someone says, last weekend I was at this great festival. I loved the music. And you're like, wow, you love the music. What band was there? Boom! You not only repeated part of what they said, you also asked a follow-up question showing interest in their topic and in them. Boom! You proved that you actually listened to what they said and they noticed. And this is how you can actually keep the conversation flowing. This is how you can get people to be like, oh, this guy actually is a good listener. You know, because everyone is a good listener, but most people just don't prove it. And you're gonna have to prove it, because we're humans. We don't read minds. You can't read what I'm thinking about right now. Maybe I'm thinking about unicorns and rainbows. Or maybe I'm thinking about this video. You don't know because you can't read my mind. So the only way for me to prove what I'm thinking about is by acting in some way. By talking to you. opening my mouth and putting words in the universe, writing them in the literal fabric of the universe. And then you will know, he was thinking about how do you communicate, how are you a good listener, or you have to prove it, or you have to repeat parts of what people say, and you have to ask follow-up questions, and so on, to show interest, and to show that you actually listened, and that you actually care, and boom, people will find you as a person who they wanna be around. Now finally, the last thing that I got for you today to become the super charismatic dude that you can be, that everyone will love, is to read body language. Now this is quite hard, but it's also quite easy, because humans have naturally developed the sense to look at people and kind of know what they're, signaling. And so there's a lot of things to talk about body language. You could make a 10-hour video about body language. But basically what you need is to sense, what are these, the signals that someone is sending you. If their chest is towards you and their feet are towards you, it means that they're probably much more engaged in the conversation. But if they're kind of like to the side, looking away, then that probably means that they're kind of want to leave, they kind of want to move out. And when you notice that and you just accept it and you give them a good excuse to go, they appreciate that. It's a lot better to end a conversation that someone doesn't want to have before it gets super awkward. It's just a lot better. Another thing is to show hands. If my hands are constantly here, in your brain it activates that, where is this guy's hands? Evolutionarily we've been like developed and evolved to look at where are people's hands, because we want to see that they're not holding a weapon. And so when you show your hands, even in a video like this, you show your hands and your palms, I am not carrying any weapons. People are a lot more at ease. And so if you're sitting at a table and your hands are like this, people will literally be more nervous and less relaxed. But if your hands are visible, they will be more relaxed, more willing to have a conversation, more willing to, do all these things. And so there's a million things about body language that you gotta learn. You just gotta learn these simple signals and things about other people's body language and what they mean and what they are signaling, and also being conscious of your own body language. If you constantly like this, then maybe you're not sending a signals of, hey, I'm super, in a good mood and want to talk to a lot of people. But if you're open, you kind of want, all of a sudden, a lot more likely that other people see you as a person of, this guy is open, he probably is willing to have a conversation, maybe I should talk to them, and so on. There's a billion signs, and you just kind of have to go out and get experience. And that's the thing. I can give you the tools, I can give you tips, but in the end, it is experience that allows you to level up, that allows you to become the type of person that people want to be around. No one ever was born amazing at socializing. Nobody. But people just learn to become that by putting them in situations and getting experience. And so go out there, get experience, get in social situations, new situations, talk to new people, talk to old people, have fun, enjoy your life, and become the most charismatic person that you can be. And as always, stay disciplined, chase your dreams, and have a fantastic day.